Hello everybody. Hi, this is CM Anisha Rakecha, and today my topic is penalties and prosecution on the UAE VAT. This is very important. Now, what are penalties and prosecutions which has come up in the UAE VAT? Now, administrative penalties. Violations and administrative penalties are related to the implementation of the Federal Law Number 7 of 2017 on tax procedures. This we are going to discuss, and all the figures are in AED, in dirhams. The failure of the person conducting business to keep the required records and other information specified in the tax procedures law and tax law is 10,000 for the first time and 50,000 in case of repetition. So you have to keep the records and other information specified in the law procedures, or else 10,000 for the first time and 50,000 dirhams in case of repetitions. The failure of the person conducting business to submit the data, records, and documents related to tax in Arabic to the authority when requested. Whenever requested, you have to submit it, or else you have to pay 20,000 dirhams. The failure of the taxable person to submit a registration application within the time frame specified in the tax law, which I have mentioned in my other videos, so that is 20,000 dirhams. The failure of the registrant to submit a deregistration application within the time frame specified in the tax law is 10,000 dirhams. The failure of the registrant to inform the authority of any circumstance that requires the amendment of the information pertaining to his tax record kept by authority is 5,000 for the first time and 15,000 in case of repetition. So this becomes like you have to be very clear on what all you have to do, or else you are going to pay a good amount. You have to have a good understanding of your taxes, or else you will be paying a good amount. Now, the failure of the person appointed as a legal representative for the taxable person to inform the authority. The failure of the person appointed as a legal representative for the taxable person to inform the authority of his appointment within the specified time frame. He has to inform within the specified time frame which is given by the law. The penalties will be due from the legal representative's own funds. You cannot ask it from any of your clients. You have to give it from your own funds, 20,000 dirhams. They are not leaving anybody now. The failure of the person appointed as a legal representative for the taxable person to file a tax return within the specified time frame, the penalties will be due from the legal representative's own fund, 1,000 for the first time, 2,000 in case of repetition within 24 months. So please be careful while you are keeping as your legal representative. The failure of the registrant to submit the tax return within the time frame specified in the tax law is 1,000 for the first time and 2,000 in the case of repetition within 24 months. The failure of the taxable person to settle the payable tax stated in the submitted tax return or tax assessment he was noticed of within the time frame specified in the tax law. The taxable person shall be obligated to pay a late payment penalty, which is 2% of the unpaid tax is due immediately once the payment of payable tax is late. 4% is due on the 7th day following the deadline for payment of the amount of tax which is still unpaid. 1% daily penalty charged on any amount that is still unpaid 1 calendar month following the deadline for payment with upper ceiling of 300%. The submittal of an incorrect tax return by the registrant. If he does it, any incorrect tax return, then two penalties are applied. Fixed penalty of 3,000 for the first time and 5,000 in case of repetition. Percentage-based penalty shall be applied on the amount unpaid to the authority due to the error and resulting in a tax benefit as follows. 50% if the registrant does not make a voluntary disclosure, or he made the voluntary disclosure after being noticed of the tax audit and the authority has started the tax audit process, or after being asked for information relating to the tax audit, whichever takes place first. 30% if the registrant makes the voluntary disclosure after being noticed of the tax audit and before the authority starts the tax audit. 5% if the registrant makes a voluntary disclosure before being noticed of the tax authority by the authority. Now there are three stages: 50%, 30%, and 5%. The voluntary disclosure by the person, taxpayer, of errors in the tax return, tax assessment, or refund application pursuant to Article 10(1) and 2 of Tax Procedures Law. Again, two penalties: 3,000 for first time, 5,000 repetition. Percentage-based penalty shall be applied on the amount. It is again the same: 50% if the person taxpayer makes a voluntary disclosure, 30% makes a voluntary disclosure but before the start of the tax audit, after being noticed of the tax audit, 5% again being noticed of the tax audit. The failure of the taxable person to voluntarily disclose errors in the tax return, tax assessment, or refund application pursuant to Article 10, subsection 1 and subsection 2 of this tax law procedures before being noticed that he will be subject to a tax audit. Again, two penalties: 3,000, 5,000, and 50% of the amount unpaid to the authority due to the error resulting in a tax benefit of the person or the taxpayer. The failure of the person conducting business to facilitate the work of the tax auditor in violation of the provisions of Article 21 of the tax is 20,000. Again, the failure of the registrant to calculate tax on behalf of another person when the registered taxable person is obligated to do so. If the registrant cannot do it, shall be obligated to pay a late payment penalty on 2% of the unpaid tax is due immediately when the payment of payable tax is late. 4% is due on the 7th day following the deadline for payment on the amount of tax which is still unpaid. 1% daily penalty charge on any amount that is still unpaid 1 calendar month following the deadline for payment with upper ceiling of 300%. A person not accounting for any tax that may be due on import of goods as required under the tax law, 50% of the unpaid tax or undeclared tax he has to pay. Violations and administrative penalties related to the implementation of the federal decree. Now this comes up for the violations of this thing. Failure by the taxable person to display prices inclusive of tax, 15,000. Failure by the taxable person to notify the authority of applying tax based on the margin, 2,500. Failure to comply with the conditions and procedures related to keeping the goods in a designated zone or moving them to another designated zone. The penalty shall be higher of 50,000 dirhams or 50% of the tax if any chargeable in respect of the goods as the result of violation. Failure by the taxable person to issue the tax invoice or an alternative document when making any supply, 5,000 for each tax invoice or alternative document. Failure by the taxable person to issue a tax credit note or an alternative document, 5,000 for each tax credit note. Failure by the taxable person to comply with the conditions and procedures regarding the issuance of electronic tax invoices and electronic tax credit notes, 5,000 for each incorrect document. Tax evasion penalties. If you evade tax, now this is like you went into prison. Taxable person who deliberately fails to settle any payable tax or administrative penalties, a prison sentence and monetary penalty not exceeding 5 times the amount of evaded tax or either of the two. Taxable person who deliberately understates the actual value of his business, fails to consolidate his related business with the intent of remaining below the required registration threshold, a prison sentence and monetary penalty not exceeding 5 times the amount of evaded tax or either of the two. Person who charges and collects amount from his clients, claiming them to be taxed without being registered, again prison and 5 times the amount of the tax. Person who deliberately provides false information and data, now it is like you cannot go anywhere, again prison and 5 times. Who deliberately conceals or destroys documents, steals, misuses, destruction of documents or other materials that are possession of the authority, or prison sentence and monetary penalty not exceeding 5 times the amount. Who prevents or hinders the authorities' employees from performance of the duties, again, who deliberately decreases the payable tax through tax evasion or conspiring to evade tax, same. So you cannot hide anywhere. Now, executive regulation when amount of tax or administrative penalty has been assessed and notified to any person under the tax law, considering taxes as debts owing to the authority and may be collected accordingly. Even to administrative penalties imposed will be reduced or waived if the federal law person has an excuse that is acceptable to the authority. In these cases, he gets a point as an excuse, provides evidence that justifies the excuse which led to the imposition of the administrative reduction or exemption of application shall be notified to the authority as per the mechanism specified by the authority within 10 business days. as at the end of the acceptable excuse. Person shall not have been subject to any administrative penalties in the 2 years preceding the application. Person shall demonstrate that they have corrected the violation. Then only you can be saved. If you fall into this, just make sure that you do this thing so that you are safe. So all the best, and if you want any more information from me, or you can mail to me on my ID, which is available on my website, my email ID. Thank you so much.